Thank you, everyone, and thanks for having me this evening. So if you're not happy with your monitoring tool at the moment, I might have a very good news for you, because you may not need another one. Okay, you could probably fix the one that you got. Before we get into the talk, a little bit about myself. I'm Hamad Silatani. I'm a CEO at Uptime Labs. I'm more of a baby CEO. So Uptime Labs is a very young startup. Our mission is to enable every business to master IT incident response. Other than that, I'm a software engineer by trade. Still love cutting code if I get an opportunity. 13 years ago, I joined a financial services company called IG Group, which provides financial product stock trading platform, okay, where availability is very important for them. Soon after joining, I realized that I drew a huge amount of satisfaction from chaos, stress that goes with IT outages and people running around. So since then, that shaped my career. I became very interested in reliability and resiliency engineering and the factors that play out for those incidents and unforeseen events to happen. Who I'm not a monitoring expert, so please don't ask me what's the difference between monitoring and observability and how AIOps will change the future, okay? I won't have an answer for you. But having said that, I have been in a position to justify and approve very expensive monitoring projects, multi-million-pound project, moving from one monitoring system to another. So I can talk to you fair amount about those projects. And also I consider myself an eternal learner. And mainly I'm here today to learn from you, probably more than you can learn from me. Also must say, my talk has got a fair amount of physical activity, so get your arms ready for it and follow me through it. I think we can all agree that we are not short of monitoring tools. Okay, if you look at the menu option of monitoring tools available, tons of them are out there, and probably what you see on the screen here doesn't cover even a third of it. Okay. But what if I told you, if you pick I showed the 3 tools here, and I told you that I will solve all your monitoring problems? That would be awesome, wouldn't it? Except I'm not going to tell you that, because that's not true to start with, and second, I'm not selling any of these products. I'm not going to make any money out of it. So that's out of the question. Okay. So here comes the physical activity. Can you raise your hand if your organization or your employer, you do incident response report? In some places it's called post-mortem, post-incident reviews, and wash-up. And keep your hands up there. Okay, not bad. Okay, I was worried that there would be no hands, so I won't have any talk to do. Okay, and then raise your hands if inadequate monitoring and alerting comes up on. You have seen it in those incident reviews. Similar set of hands coming up. Okay, that's interesting. And finally, if you're aware of a project within your business to change or improve or move from a monitoring system to another one. Few other hands as well. So that's a good news for me. Okay, I was worried that if there's no hands, I probably need to say goodbye and save you at all times. But that's not the case. So what you see here on the right-hand side, is totally fabricated graph by me, and I call it technology honeymoon graph. Okay. So the x-axis is a time factor in years probably, and the y-axis is a level of satisfaction. And in any organization, when a new tool is being adopted, there's initially a lot of hope and a lot of enthusiasm about it. So everyone is talking about it. Oh, this is a cool tool. It's going to solve all our problems. Okay, once we have it done, then there's no problem there. Year 1, year 2, and that satisfaction starts to come down. Okay, and probably somewhere around year 2.5, you start thinking about the next project. Okay, so what is the next technology to do? And there you go, the same graph, and that happens and it happens. Okay, and I promise you, I have seen this cycle so many times. and I guess you probably will resonate with it. And monitoring tools are no exception to this pattern. Okay, they're a technology and they follow the same thing, and that's why businesses move between monitoring tools. And I know and I talk to people who are moving from one tool to another. I'm not going to name the tools in case I cause myself an illegal issue. And then at the same time, another business is planning to move from tool B to tool A because it's beneficial. But let's dig a little bit deeper into why all these movements happening. Okay, so earlier I asked about the incident workshops and incident reports, and I've studied many of them over the years, and monitoring do come up. Okay, and I can categorize the reasons why people are not happy with monitoring and kind of 3 big categories that reflect on those incident workshops. The first one is our monitoring tool didn't help us to troubleshoot any faster. Okay, we could see the metrics going in a wrong way, but we didn't get any alert about it. Okay, or the other one is we just couldn't track the problem quick enough, so it was it's not fit for purpose. It took us hours to troubleshoot. So that's a problem with monitoring. The second issue comes up is basically our monitoring stack is missing certain capabilities. We don't have tracing, so we can't trace a request from the doorstep of the data center to the server that has got a problem. Okay, and finally, another reason that comes up is like monitoring is very expensive. So our current monitoring tool is costing us huge amounts, and we need to move to a better one. Okay, just a quick sense check. Have you seen any of these 3 reasons? Does it resonate with you? Okay, I see a few nods. Okay, that's good. So that's giving me hopes that I'm talking some sense here. But I was going to ask for those of you who have solved these problems, please stay behind at the end. I'd love to talk to you and learn how you got it fixed, because I haven't seen anyone to really fix it so far. So these 3 problem statements often leads to a question, which is, what will be our next monitoring tool? Okay, the one we got to the current stack is not good enough. What we're going to do next? Which is a valid question, but I would dare to say that it's not the right question. It's an easy way out. Okay, and I think it's really this conversation is actually very luckily is a good follow-on from Colin's talk, which was focused on engineering practices. Okay, we'll see why is that. So why we jump on the easy question? First of all, don't feel too bad about it, because it's not just IT engineers that jump into the easy question instead of really thinking hard. It's actually how human brain works. Daniel Kahneman, Nobel winner psychologist and author of Thinking Fast and Slow, he says, when faced with a difficult question, we often answer an easier one instead, usually without noticing the substitution. Okay?
Usually without
noticing the substitution. Okay, so that's how our brain works. So we don't need to feel bad about doing that mistake. And I'll give you an example. If I ask you how satisfied you are with or how happy you are with your life these days, probably you're going to think and replace that with what is your mood right now, today. Okay, because happiness is a very difficult topic to cover. There's a lot of many aspects. So our brain does that. Let's acknowledge it. Now that we know we're subject to that fallacy, let's get back to the core problems and see if we can find what are the real questions. Okay? So the answer is in the problem statement first. So it did not tell us what was broken. Actually, what that statement is telling you is, when during a major production incident I tried to use our monitoring tool, probably for the first time in a while, to find what was the problem, I couldn't. Okay? So the really core issue is I tried to use the tool for the first time to troubleshoot production issue. Okay, I'm not using it often. Okay, so that's just one issue comes up. The second one is missing capabilities. Again, when you read really what that is saying is, when there was this big production issue going on and I tried to use our monitoring tools, I realized that it doesn't have the capabilities that I need to troubleshoot. So basically we realized that we're missing monitoring capabilities when we had production issue. It's already too late. And that tells us that, again, monitoring is an afterthought, so we haven't designed monitoring with our product, but also we're not using monitoring in our day-to-day practices, so we miss out on these missing capabilities. Same goes with the cost. Our monitoring is very expensive because we realize that we're pumping tons of logs to Splunk or tons of metrics coming through, so it just it's not worthwhile anymore. That's, again, monitoring is an afterthought. We didn't think about it. We didn't design monitoring. So what could be then real questions? So if the question is not what will be our next monitoring tool, then what is the real question? So I'm going to propose two questions here that we can ask ourselves. One is how to make monitoring part of our core engineering practices. Okay, part of our engineering culture. And this is, here I think we can say, kind of point back to Colin's conversation. Okay, and then the second question is how to use monitoring tools effectively during high stress troubleshooting. So production incidents, they're high stress situation, stakes are high, okay? And during that stressful situation, doing anything is very difficult. So if you want to use those tools, probably for the first time or for the first time after a while, to troubleshoot and solve a big problem, you will struggle, okay? You need to be, unless you have those skills as part of your muscle memory, how to use monitoring, how to troubleshoot effectively, is going to be very difficult for you to do that. And so I think these are the two key questions that we need to ask ourselves and find an answer for it. And if we do so, then whatever tool we have will just help us to achieve these easier. Okay, so it comes back to people, processes, and technology, and knowing that technology is really helping people and processes. So once you get the people and processes right, then technology will let you fly. I was interviewing a fighter jet pilot who also turned to be, moved to become a passenger jet, commercial jet pilot. And we're talking about, because aviation is a safety critical industry, okay? The cost of outages there is probably far higher than IT. People will die, okay, when the incident happens. And I was talking to him about how most of IT folks are unhappy with their monitoring tools, and just even though when they spend a lot of money. And then after a little bit of a conversation, he gave me a very, very good insight, which has kind of stuck with me ever since. His point was, I don't know much about IT, but I can promise you the quality and the level of costs of the tools that we have in a plane cockpit for our monitorings, you're never going to beat that. Okay, it's a best class monitoring. You can't get any better monitoring than what we have in a plane cockpit. But it's still, in aviation, we spend a lot of time and investment on people and processes, okay? Getting people to use this monitoring, not just during the flight or when things go wrong, but actually on the ground in a safe environment so they're familiar. Okay, and also we get them to practice how the monitoring will react in the different failure scenarios, so they know how to watch for problems, which ties back onto people and processes. So when we get the people and processes right, then we can make any tool work for us. So I will kind of wrap up with few ideas. Okay, so it's not limited. I'm not saying that these are the definite solutions, but these are the ideas I've seen working, and I'm sure you will probably come up with much better ones. Okay, so the first one on people's side is We need more emphasis on monitoring skills than monitoring tools. Okay? We need, and then the other thing that you probably will agree is a good troubleshooter that knows how IT systems work. They can make good use of any monitoring tools that you give them. Okay? Because they know the overall concept, they know the architecture, they know how computer systems work, and they will go, whatever monitoring tools you got, work out what information they need. Okay? So being a good troubleshooter is another aspect of it. On processes, there's so much to learn from monitoring in peacetime. Okay? We often look at monitoring tools when things are broken, be it in production or in UAT, which hides the fact or kind of keeps us away from important insight on our system's steady state. Okay? That again comes back a little bit to SLOs, which try to cover that aspect as well. Okay. Next point on processes is monitoring needs QA, like all other aspects of software system. Okay, we need to test, make sure that our monitoring systems work, do what they expected, and design them on purpose. Okay. On technology side, the simpler the better. And believe me, I know we have tons of monitoring tools, but if you can get the job done with one, which probably you can, stick with one. Simpler flows there, and you will find that it's much more useful. And also the tool and the monitoring stack must be a good fit for engineering culture. Okay, if your organization is very much divided into autonomous teams and independent units of delivery that they want autonomy, having a tool that needs a central management and every team needing to check their changes to monitoring or whatever through that team, it won't work. Okay, so the tool that you use should fit in your engineering culture. Okay, so I hope you found the talk useful. If you are interested in incident response, people, and processes conversation, please join us on Oops Meetup. So we run a quarterly meetup called Oops, and I'm not going to talk about hiring. Okay, but what I'm going to tell is at Uptime Labs we're always looking to work with operations and incident response visionaries to help us to build our product. So if you are interested in that space, please come and talk to me. That's it.